All right. Welcome in, guys. We're supposed to have Kyle Russell on today. He's the competition organizer for Wad on the Lock in Scotland, which is a place that we're planning to be later this summer. And he actually has a pretty cool story in addition to being just a pretty informed guy about the sport of CrossFit in general. But he's unable to make it due to some personal situations. So I literally just asked Patrick like 3 minutes ago if he could jump on and hang out with me. And we're just going to go over the what's been happening in the last 24 hours, basically, as far as quarterfinals are concerned. It's not something that we necessarily love to do this early after the competition window opens, but we had a show scheduled, and obviously there've been a lot of things going on. Hey, Craig, what's up, Slater? So we're just going to kind of give you guys a little insight into what's been happening. The general overview, though, is this is a process. And so, I actually put my phone away last night around just half hour or so after those submission windows were supposed to be ended. Clearly, they take sometimes a little bit longer than that to populate because I just didn't want to be dealing with things late into the night that are probably going to be resolved anyway. So here's an example. Craig Passley, Gracie's score was corrected. This is with reference to Gracie Walton, obviously the up-and-comer out of Oceania, Australia, that's been doing exceptionally well this year. And yes, her score was corrected this morning. And it's a good case and study or case and point of what's happening when it comes to CrossFit in general, which is that there has to be some time for things to happen. So, they're stated in the rule book that they will have the leaderboard finalized within a week of quarterfinals ending. That gives them until next Monday. It still is a little bit tight relative to when, especially the age group will begin. So Slater asking here, what's up with the age group leaderboard? I mean, when I saw this, and I see several different media companies posting about this, and PC, we can get your take too. Obviously, it almost reminds me of what Dave Castro said on his Week in Review a couple of days ago, when posed with the question about the PFAA putting some stuff out with regards to the heat in Texas and being concerned about the program at the games. And Dave's point of view on this was more or less that. He almost laughed. He was like, you guys don't think that we care about athlete safety? You think that we're going to program negligently and have them do an hour-long workout in the sun at 110 degrees in Texas? Like, come on. Like, he said it was almost insulting. And I would say the same thing here. Obviously, it's embarrassing for them that the age group leaderboard is not populated. But if you think that they don't know about it and aren't trying to fix it, then you haven't really been paying attention to who these people are. They care a lot about their jobs. Yes, they make some mistakes, and they get crucified for them over and over publicly. But what's going to be more productive? If every media company out there posts about it and starts talking about it, or if they reach out and say, hey, what's going on? Is there anything that we can do to help? Patrick, you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dave, and us being a media company ourselves. I think the people that get affected the most are the athletes. Now, if you're an athlete, and especially an age group athlete that says, "Hey, where's the leaderboard? Where's the leaderboard?" Yeah, you have every right to say that, but at the same time, I think you also need to be patient. Dave said it numerous times. It's almost kind of like a running joke, especially within the media world. It's a small team. It's a small team. It really is. For them to just get the leaderboard out, just for the individuals and the teams in a timely fashion is it still kind of blows my mind. But for other media companies or other people saying, "Hey, we need this, we need this." I mean, do they truly? It almost sounds like people are just like complaining to complain. Maybe, I don't know, but I think
could be worse. They could be locked in jail with you.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I go from one brick wall to like another one. Exactly. Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, that there's so many layers to that. Yeah, getting locked in jail with me.
Totally threw you off track there, but
it did.
No,
it had me thinking.
It's just this thing. It's like you don't need to be so quick to react to something that obviously they know about. And yes, it's frustrating. And I totally get that. You know, these athletes work super hard, but on the other side of the equation, the leaderboards that are populated right now, they're not finalized anyway.
Exactly.
And
Let's fix those first.
yeah, and so when there was a comment in here that I thought was, Miriam van Roor's score has been adjusted as well. We had heard about it overnight. They fixed it. There's questions like this. Freya Moosberger and Caitlin Van Ziel's workout 2 scores disappeared. So the fact that there was a score for them and then they disappeared that just means that the review process is ongoing. Those workout 2 scores were due on Saturday. Now it's Tuesday, which means, there's probably one of 2 things that have happened in situations like this. Either, per the stated rules, a video was requested and they're given 24 hours to send their video, and they didn't send the video within 24 hours, or they did that workout and received an exorbitant number of no reps to the point of invalidation. That would be the 2 most likely scenarios in a case like this. The CrossFit eventually will, I think, publish their penalties document that they do every year. I don't think they've published one for teams yet. Maybe Halpin can verify that. And then obviously the individual one is ongoing. So in some of these situations, it's not publicly clear why they're having a 0. But the fact that we see scores for certain athletes that are turning to zeros means that the review process is happening. And we have talked about it in the run up to semifinal or to quarterfinals all year long, that from every perspective you look at it, this stage of the season is going to be critical, or more critical than it has been before. And when it comes to the athlete side of things, there's a few things that, thank you, Mike, for checking that. There's a few things that are not great that are going on. And so the first is, if you're an athlete who's a serious contender to make it to the semifinals, just send in your video when you upload your score. Like, don't even wait for them to ask. And when you're making those videos, you should always be asking yourself this one question. Is there anything about this video that's unusual or uncommon? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you shouldn't submit that video. You should be asking those questions before you set everything up anyway. But I mean, I see even stuff that's like, for box heights, people are having like crates with a plate on it and they're stepping to that. It's like, why are you doing that? Every gym has a 20-inch box. Just put a 20-inch box out there and do the workout. Leave no doubt. Like, if you do something that's unusual, that's going to get their attention. Don't do those things. And all these athletes that are in the position to potentially make it to the semis should have coaches and teams or whatever support around them that can answer those questions. And that's just like kind of off the bat, something that I would say from the things that I know publicly and privately that athletes have been doing is like, if it's uncommon to you or anyone on your team, don't submit that. Colton submitted a slower score on workout 3 because you couldn't see him touch rope climb height on his video from Crash. Perfect example of an athlete who is doing exactly what we just talked about. In fact, I watched as the Brute Camp did these very things in person with Dallin and Fee's videos. They would finish, multiple angles of camera were used, multiple people on their team would review the videos. They would have a discussion. Is there anything unusual about this video? Is this the one we want to use? If everyone was in agreement, then that's the one that they would post, upload to YouTube. They'd watch it again. And then when they submitted their scores, they submit the video alongside it so that there's no room for error. They're checking those boxes before it's too late. Thoughts?
I think I mentioned it's a small team for CrossFit. It's even a smaller team for athletes. But the thing is, you need to have a team. No athlete should be doing this by themselves. And having a team in place, you can check some of those boxes, whether it be your coach. It seems like a lot of athletes. I mean, we can. Every time I think of this, the example I always think of is Will Leahy. Last year when it came to him submitting scores and posting stuff up. If he had someone on his team, he obviously had judges, he had coaches there and stuff like that, but I don't know who submitted that stuff, but but anyone in their right mind wouldn't have allowed any of that stuff pass through. Say my needs to say that. Good one, Halpin. That's like my life there. You didn't even watch it yourself. I know that, but it happens. There are athletes. They'll they'll go as soon as they're on the workout. They'll say they'll do everything that's required of the workout. And they'll come off and they'll turn off their phone. They'll submit
It's
their score
just, I mean,
online.
it's just wild to me. These athletes invest so much time, if nothing else, so much time throughout the entire season that when it matters, the one weekend that it matters, you can't take the time to watch your own video back and ask that question.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe calling like I guarantee if we brought someone like Annika Greer on, she would tell you that everything that she does, she checks those boxes out. I'm sure she has like a checklist in her head. Her staff. I mean, that's probably one reason. I mean, she did the camp up in training think tank up in Georgia. Having those people around her, having those teammates. It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, Julian, thought about James Sprague used a smaller box than was required. Yeah, that's an example of an athlete who did that, and it's an athlete. I would say, why would you even bother doing that? Is the 20-inch box going to make your score that much worse? No,
Mhm.
probably completely irrelevant. And why would you risk it? That's what I would say to James or anyone who did something like that.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing is I went through this morning and because so many people made the same mistake on the final workout and awarded in each of the three major regions by their performance on workouts 1, 2, and 3 to see that if there were any outlier scores for workout 4, and by an outlier score, I mean a score of, on the women's side, 30 reps or less, on the men's side, 25 reps or less. And look at this. This is North America East, West. All of these athletes didn't have great scores on 3 workouts, and then 20 reps, 25 reps, 28 reps, 19 reps, 22 reps on the final workout. And we know what happened. It's that for those athletes, the first 3 barbells in that workout are an afterthought. It's a buy-in. They're not thinking about those 30 reps. When they call up their buddy and they're like, hey, PC, what'd you get? I got 25 reps on the final bar.
Yep.
Oh, damn, good work, man. I only got 23. That's the number that's in their head.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have the rule from semifinals last year where the buy-in of ring complex and pistols don't count towards a score, because you're also dealing with a massive global population where a lot of people didn't get to the last bar, and getting a few reps at the second or third bar was a big deal for them. And so you can't have that. But once again, we go back to the same concept. If you're an athlete that's on this list, or here's the North America East one, Europe's
these
a little bit
graphics.
smaller. Yeah, they're beautiful, right?
B.Friendly graphics.
Well, I'm just making notes,
Yeah.
and then I'm checking. And some of these are being fixed, as you guys have pointed out. But Miriam Van Roer, Seher Kaya, Grace Walton, Guillaume Briand, these are big-time names. These are names that have made the games before, are being talked about in every circle of CrossFit right now, and for the most part are with big training camps. I mean, Seher is in CrossFit Oslo. Grace Walton is coached by guys from Underdogs. Like, what is the vetting process? This should never happen. Like, it should, for an athlete like that, this should never happen. Yeah. And it's happened so many times. And it's got to be so frustrating for CrossFit. And that's what I would tell you guys. Like, all of those people that are reaching out to me or Patrick or anyone else in the media space and saying, hey, emergency, my athlete's score isn't correct. And I'm worried their season's going to come to an end. It's like, bro, the emergency is that you guys messed it up. And I can't think of a good excuse for that to happen this many times for this many athletes on something that's so simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I kind of see it from the other way because I kind of wear both hats. I will say, like someone like Seher, who took ownership on it. She put a post up. She woke up, saw that her score, that she was 270th out of the world, defending Asia champion, and she put a post up. She's like, it's on me, it's on her. But then, started working that issue. And, it was a very stressful morning for someone like her. I'm sure it was stressful for someone like Gracie, just like Miriam, all those athletes. It's been very, it's going to be stressful for a lot of athletes, especially those near or below that cut line. For each one of it, it's going to be a stressful week, which we hope is a week.
Look at this, PC. I learned how to do things on this back end here.
I know. I'm so proud of you. There you go. So here's our post. I mean, if you want to read that.
I don't know how to freeze it there.
just click it. There's a pause button at the top. See it?
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Learning
Good.
things all day today. Yeah, so
I
this
know.
is a great example that PC is talking about. Since people keep asking, yes, I did unfortunately log the last quarterfinal workout. CrossFit Games has been contacted. We will have to wait and see what happens. Thank you for everyone's concern. Hopefully it will be fixed. She says, stupid mistake, but it's out of my control for now. Now we wait and see. And then everything is a learning process, y'all. Like this is a perspective from an athlete that I can get behind for sure. She's taking, like you said, she's taking ownership for it. She went through the correct process. Oops, I see I made a mistake. Let me email CrossFit and see what happens. And within a few hours, they were able to watch the video that she submitted. They could see she did 55 total reps, including 12 at the last bar, not 25 total reps. And she goes from 44th to first in Asia's leaderboard, as should be the case. And that's the thing that people should do. If you make a mistake, don't ring the alarm bells all over the place. There are processes for these. There's a reason why it takes a week for the leaderboard to finalize. And there are going to be some mistakes. I could have a little bit more grace, but it's like when I see this many people making that same mistake, and they're people that I know are training under great coaches, people that do this full-time, big training camps, I'm just wondering, like, who is checking these things? If you're a coach, a manager, a husband, or whatever of an athlete, and you just say, you put your score in, honey? Yep. Okay, awesome, great. No, let me see it.
Yeah.
Let me see your scorecard. Let me see the video. Let me see what you entered. Does everything match up? That's annoying. Stop bothering me. Hey, I just want to make sure that all your work for the whole year pays off.
Your season's on the line. You can't. I mean, again, it's CrossFit. They could easily say, "Nope, you messed up. You messed up."
Ask or serve. Athletes submit their score, but they don't put it in the leaderboard. Could just be a typo as well. When you say they don't put in the leaderboard, I'm not sure who you're referring to here with the they. If you can clarify, we can try to answer. Renata, thanks for joining us. Who didn't submit scores? What did I miss? Yeah, we were supposed to have Kyle Russell on today from Scotland, one on the lock, but he was unable to make it. So we're just going through some of the kind of hot topics over the last days. CF writes the leaderboard.
Yeah, but it's populated automatically. I mean, yes, CrossFit does the leaderboard. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about this. I have heard of a couple instances where there seems to be some kind of technical glitch on the back end. When I hear these things from athletes, there's one of two situations. Either there was a technical glitch on the back end, and in that case, follow the same protocols that we just went over. Email CrossFit with all the information that they would to take a look at it, and then you have to wait. But if they're having dozens to hundreds of people emailing them, obviously that's going to take some time. The other thing is sometimes the athletes are embarrassed. And they're embarrassed by whatever they did. So they'll make up a story that's close to the truth, but not the entire truth. And that's what they'll pass around. And then if they want it to appear like something unjust or unfair had happened to them. And let's be honest, we all do this to some extent in our lives at some point anyway. And so I can kind of empathize with the, not wanting to necessarily take the ownership. Obviously, that's not great, especially when you see something like what Sahar has done. But I think all of us, if we're honest enough with ourselves and look in the mirror, like Mike says, could understand doing that at some point.
Yeah.
The thing that's
there, and she and like what she and I wasn't worried about her video at all, because obviously she did her work at Oslo. Her videos, impeccable. They do a good job of that. All their athletes. I mean, I think the only complaint some people have sometimes regarding their video, and I've heard this from people on the scoring team, is that it's a dark gym, and sometimes the athletes have a tendency to wear dark clothes in that gym. That's the only complaint I've heard from people regarding that.
Helping. I've heard the English as a second language. I'm going to add this like excuse around from what the scorecard actually says for a score a few times from coaches. Absolutely. It is a global competition, and there are people in these situations, hopefully with especially the help of Google Translates, it's like very easy. I mean, I'm communicating with people who are in Russia. I can't understand what a single word says there, but I can copy and paste those characters or symbols into a Google Translate, and it spits me out a relative meaning of what that is. Plus, you like at this point, you should be able to find somebody in your area who speaks English well enough to help you if that truly is a problem. So I don't want to gloss it over as being irrelevant, but say, Be proactive. There's ways to find a solution to that. And doing them in the last hour is not that solution. Like this, I think that for me, the reason why I'm a little frustrated with the athletes this year is because I do think that CrossFit has gone out of their way this season to make things pretty easy. You know, when you think about the conversations we had about teams last year, they've really simplified the requirement. Do the workout at the affiliate representing. And there's still people that have not been able to do that. In this case, 6 days to do 4 workouts, it should not be an issue. It should give you plenty of time to address any of those problems. We talked about on Sunday, I think, Taylor Self as an example, because they did that workout in a live setting, in a competition setting on the day that it was due. And he had an out of body experience, you know, quite frankly, where yielded a score that I think is 1 to 3 minutes worse than a score that he could do on a normal day. He doesn't have a chance to do it again. And all he had to worry about the rest of that day was, am I okay? And he was forced to submit what he had. Don't put yourself in those situations. You know, like that's a unique situation. That's something we've never seen before. And he even mentioned it on Thursday prior to the competition that was something that was nervous for him, because something can go wrong when you're doing these virtual competitions. How many times have we seen the app froze? Someone called me. The submission window's not working. I didn't like the quality of my reps, so I'm trying to do it again. Like, well, those things will happen. Is it going to happen to you? Hopefully not. Is it going to happen to someone? Yes. Something like that is going to happen to someone every single season, every single stage of online qualifier. Take the things that CrossFit give you and use them to your advantage so that those things are extremely mitigated in terms of the potential of them happening.
You know, I had a conversation with Boz maybe a couple of years. It might have been when we were in Omaha, where I kind of mentioned to him, like maybe do like an instructional video on best practices, like a video, like a YouTube video on best practices for athletes. And he was he liked the idea, but at the same time, he's like, well, most of these athletes, they know what right looks like. It's like he gets frustrated when athletes try to pull one over by saying, I don't know. Dude, you've been to the game, you know, X amount of, some of these athletes are veteran athletes. That excuse doesn't fly. Or if it's a new athlete, they're usually around other athletes that do know, or coaches that know, or training camps. So yeah, it's you know, I can see how it's frustrating for the athletes, but you know, again, it's just as frustrating for us when people reach out to them. And by all means, we're not telling like people not to reach out to us, you know, but you know,
we actually love hearing from people because it helps give us some perspective, and sometimes we can take some initiative to try to find something that's going to be productive, the best step that they can take going forward. The thing that really, the overarching thing for me is, we just had a weekend of competition with 4 unique workouts that thousands of people around the world did, and there were some incredible performances, and I haven't seen anyone talk about any of those things. I have not seen anyone talk about the fact that these 2 guys, Augustine Raquelme and Saxon Panchak, finished this workout and posted a score in under 7 minutes. And obviously, we can see and know that there will be some scores removed. I mean, David DeMarco here, a 3rd place, 7 minutes, didn't do workouts 1 or 2, 10 reps on the last workout. That's probably going to be disappearing from a leaderboard, but we can look past that. When you look at Victor Hoffer, who's listed 4th, probably 3rd here amongst the worldwide population, and you think about what he did last year in the opening workout that had the 3 different squat variations and the 3 different gymnastics variations, excuse me. And then you see that he's, you know, losing by 11 and 30 seconds to these 2 guys on this workout. That's the type of stuff that I want to talk about. And, you know, we know Augustine Raquelme. He's been to the games on multiple occasions for different reasons. He hasn't had his best performances there. He's missed out on semis or from semis on going to the games the last couple seasons. It's obviously really difficult to qualify.
Slim margins.
Guimaeros didn't make it last year, and there's only 2 spots there. It seems like there's some up and coming young guys in that region. In fact, one in particular that I really am taking note of after quarterfinals. I think he's currently sitting 2nd place overall down there after being 10th at their semi last year, and he's a young man, only 23 years old, from Brazil. But this is a guy who is passionate about the sport. He's been doing it for a long time. He's still 27 years old, and he's putting up a time of 6:39. I mean, I did this workout, and I finished the first 3 rounds in 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you have Saxon Panchik, who maybe you want to talk a little about him, Patrick. But obviously he had an injury during semifinals last year and unable to compete. And again, I haven't seen very many people talking about him this season. I think he might have actually been like one of the athletes that John Young forgot to put on his comeback canyon, whatever thing. But clearly a guy who has had the potential to compete at the top level. And once again, when you look at this, it's like 28 years old. And obviously putting up some really strong performances, none other than this one. And those are the things that I want to celebrate coming out of the quarterfinals, not spend all the time talking about these issues.
Yeah. I mean, and certainly not talking about like, hey, these leaderboards haven't been updated for the age groups yet. I mean, it's going to happen. Just calm down, and don't worry. When it happens, they'll be celebrated. But yeah, regarding Saxton, I think it's just, I think he prefers that, and it's no coincidence both those athletes. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Facundo is still coaching Augustine.
He definitely works with Mayhem still. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are two athletes that work with, a good friend of ours in Facundo. And I look at someone like Rochelle May, who is like, I think his bigger impact is going to be when he's done competing as a CrossFit athlete. He's already taken a team under his wings. He's been a mentor to a lot of young CrossFitters in Argentina. I believe I don't know if he is the affiliate owner at that gym, but
I think if he's not the sole owner, he's at least one of the owners.
Yeah, but I think someone like him, and like we said, he's still young, competitive wise, and he's someone I think 2-3 years ago that I really had high hopes on in terms of the games, and for whatever reason, there's been multiple reasons why, not excuses, reasons why he's been underperforming at the games, but I'm hoping this year we get to see the true depth of what he's capable of doing. But again, like I said, he's someone who I think is going to have a bigger impact for the sport once he's done competing at the sport. But
like in addition to being a great athlete, probably the best athlete we've seen individually out of Argentina, he's also having an impact on the community there. And especially being kind of in that Mayhem family tree, we see, Rich was able to do that while he was also competing. And to a certain extent, Augustine is starting to do that at 27 years old as a leader of his fitness community down in Argentina. We watched Taylor Self do this workout. I watched him do it in person, and he puts.
I wanted to ask you some questions. I wanted to ask your opinion on some questions. I mean, you got to see Taylor do all this, 3 of the 4 workouts live, but go ahead and finish, and I'll ask my question.
Well, that's just like Taylor is an athlete who I don't think that a ton of people really know, and they definitely don't know them as well as someone like myself or JR would know him. I kind of teased that, JR had a competition in the fall of 2020 that Taylor took 4th place at. Jake Berman was there, and Jason Hopper won that. Josh Miller, who was coming off a sanctional win the previous season at the French Throwdown, took 3rd. And these guys are mixing it up. And I looked at the workouts. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with JR's programming now, those workouts are no joke. And so for someone, 2 guys that were completely unknown to me at the time to do that, I took note of them. Taylor has had a very tumultuous couple of years since then, but while he was rehabbing his knee after the knee surgeries that he had to have, he was grinding. He was doing everything that he could in the meantime, including a ton of upper body gymnastics work. And I still don't know if I've seen someone that seems as proficient on ring muscle ups specifically as he does. And these are all strengths for his. So I thought, he's going to win against these 4 guys. And when he put up a time of 7:59, I was like, okay, a sub-8 time is super elite. That time was 33rd. They're tied for 30. No, it's 33rd on its own. Actually, I think there is one other time that's going to be 7:59 if it makes its way onto the leaderboard. That's currently a 0. But, and then when I start to look at, okay, well, what kind of people out there can beat this time? And you see names like BKG, not that surprising. Alex Catullus, Jay Crouch, not that surprising. Luke Parker, that's surprising. That's impressive to me. Will Leahy, Michael Smith, Moritz Fiebig. I mean, these are some big boys, and those are some really good times.
Yeah.
What do you want to ask me?
Well, you mentioned Taylor kind of it almost sounded like his body shut down on him after workout. Was it 2? That's the infamous clip that's going around, him falling off. Great performance. And you mentioned how nervous he was. And I mean, since day one, when it came to the season. Like we know, we've seen how we know what Taylor could be capable of doing, and then he's been telling people, it's like, no, I'm not competing. I'm not competing. Well, now he's in a spot to go to semifinals. I imagine he's going to go to semifinals. Why not? Why not? I know that's not what he wanted to do this year or expected,
Well,
but
I think
why
he's just
not?
been taking it one step at a time.
Sure,
When we did
sure,
our top 200 in the world last fall, he said, "Don't put me on there. I'm not competing
yeah,
this year." But his
yeah,
knee was totally different than it was in January. And when he signed up for the Open, I was like, "Hey, man, what's up?"
yeah.
He's like, "I'm just going to do the Open. I think I can do it. And it's good for the community. That
Well, it's
it's
good for
CrossFit
him.
Charlotte community to
Yeah,
participate in that, lead from the front." I said, "Okay."
exactly.
And then he did. Obviously that evolved into Taylor versus the world.
Hmm.
And he got public spotlight there. He did great. A top 100 finish in the Open, qualifies for the quarters, and there's another opportunity for him to compete there. And in the middle of it, I asked him, I posted it on the story. I said, "If you make semis, will you compete?" And he said, "Maybe." And but I think I think he genuinely meant that, like maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
And he doesn't want to get too far ahead of himself.
Yeah. So my question
Mhm.
is, if he competes at semifinals, what? I mean, it's added pressure. We know Taylor's one of those people that he's one of the few athletes that he's very, very frank about. Like, dude, I was nervous. I want just I feel it in my stomach. I'm having nerves, stuff like that. How's that going to be at semifinals for him, and how's his body going to hold up when you're dealing with
The good thing for him is
hard
that he
work?
does have, I mean, it's been a while, but he does
Hmm.
have live competition experience in the form
Yes,
of Wadapalooza, where he had a top 10 finish, and
Granite
Granite
Games.
Games, where he had a top 10 finish that previous year. And he learned a lot from both of those experiences about what works and what doesn't work for him,
Hmm.
and how to manage things mentally. Additionally, unlike almost everyone else in the world, he's done 2 stages of competition with cameras on him
Yeah,
already just to get to this point.
which
So,
is pressure.
if you don't think that he's dealing with some nerves before every one of those events, like obviously he is. That who wouldn't?
Yeah,
It's exciting, it's exhilarating, but it's nerve wracking. The cameras are
yeah,
on you. You haven't done it in a while. You're going against some of the best guys in the world, and you don't want to embarrass yourself.
yeah,
So but I think that's a huge plus for him, is to have
yeah.
had those
Sure.
experiences this year that can kind of not shake the nerves. Like the nerves aren't a bad thing to have, but at least give him some experience from a very recent time period instead of going back a couple of years that he can lean on if he does decide to if obviously nothing's finalized yet, but if he qualifies
Yeah.
and accepts an invitation.
Well, do you think his body is going to be able to hold up? I mean,
I
to
do
that.
think
I
so. I
mean,
mean, I heard the
yeah,
guys on Savant's podcast saying like Bill and John kind of speculating about his training volume compared to some of these guys.
that's
I don't
amazing.
what
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like what his training volume. I mean, Jason, Colton, Dallin, they're training for the games, and and
he's training like
Taylor.
those guys are training. I
Yes,
mean, he's doing multiple sessions a day most days.
good.
He's had to do a lot of rehab stuff for his knees, and even now
Sure.
he's diligent about what I would call prehab to make sure that the
Mhm.
knees stays healthy. But he's checking all the boxes.
Good.
He has a coach, and he's had a coach for a while, and he does a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff for Sentinel. So he blends the stuff the coach gives him with the stuff that he's testing or writing for his own training program, and the product is that he's doing, you know between on the days that he works out, he's doing between 2 and 5 hours of work in the gym on his body, whether that's mobility, prehab, metcons, strengths, accessories. He's doing all those things, and he loves it. Like he considers that to be a very serious thing. I don't think he really takes anything that he does too lightly,
Sure.
and I don't think that's what happened there. I think that was just, I mean, I think that was a one-off, really weird thing.
Sure.
I talked to him about it personally yesterday. He doesn't have a pinpoint answer. He described the feeling as moving through peanut butter, and not even. I mean, he wasn't even really aware of what was going on in the last minute or two of the workout. He was just surviving basically.
And that's why I think of that's how a type of athlete I think is that he is like when you have to go to those dark places, he can go there and his body kind of just almost kind of like how Cooper Marsh didn't remember crossing the finish line from
Yeah,
his from it. I
Yeah, it's the
mean,
same type of thing. It's a lot longer workout, but I mean, the intensity was high.
mhm,
And I mean, I watched a lot of people who didn't finish that workout who got 7 minutes into it and looked like they were miserable the rest of the time. And I did that workout yesterday,
mhm.
and I did not want to be miserable for 13 minutes of that workout. So I just chose a slower pace. I was nice and steady. I managed everything, and I got to the last 2 minutes and I pushed, and I had a better score than a lot of people who went dark in the first half of that workout. I mean, of course, there's a lot of people that are way fitter than me anyway, but I think
Sure.
that I really managed that workout well. But he wasn't in a position to do that. Like $5,000 and the chance to beat those guys was on the line. And what, something like it comes down to, I think, all the way back to what Dave was talking about at the CrossFit Games. It's sports. There's just going to be times where people go so hard that extraneous things happen. It's happened in the past at the games. It's happened in other sports, and it happened to Taylor, and it can happen into everyone. Helping with a little throwback here.
Yeah.
What do we got? Oh man.
I mean, I'm excited for Taylor. I mean, obviously, just the last couple of weeks of the last year, his profile, his celebrity's gone up. He's gonna be a fan favorite in Knoxville, because he is kind of an underdog if he chooses to compete there. So he's gonna have the lights on him. He's gonna have probably a pretty decent fan base there, just based off of what he's gone through and who he is. And I'm excited for that. I'm hoping he responds to that, which I think he will. He's one of those people when it's time to go, he shuts down and he ignores that. So I'm looking forward to what he does. Um, I don't know. I mean, I believe Thursday we are going to have a kind of a more leaderboard show. So I don't know how much more leaderboarding you do, but I do have some subjects I wanted to talk about that we didn't really get a chance to talk to. Um,
Let's just look at a couple
so
other of the super
sure.
impressive performances here. I mean, this, the Heat One app put out this one of their prop bets this week: Jeff Adler versus the world on this workout. Obviously,
Yeah.
he had a master class in a world record of the
Yep.
open workout in 2020 that had ascending weight clean and jerks with some other movements worked in there. I just picked the world based on the fact that there's so
Same.
many people in it, but I paused on that question more than almost any other question in their prop bets,
Yeah.
and I was like, damn, for this movement, for this workout, like that's how good this guy is at this, that he could
Yeah.
beat everyone in the world, and it's like a 50-50. Well, he did it
Yeah.
by 3 reps.
Yeah.
and look at these guys behind him. I mean, these are some strong dudes that are 3 and 5 reps behind him. And
I,
for people who did that workout and got to that last barbell, especially the men's one at 245, like that is really, really impressive.
I want to see the video for that at some point, just because he just moves
Yes.
so. I think the Buttery Bros were actually there
Yes.
filming him, so I think that actually came out today or tomorrow. So I can't wait to watch that. But yeah, I mean, I told you in our conversation earlier, I was really impressed with Roman in that, and then the two people that I thought were dark horses in terms of possibly upsetting Adler, and I was called crazy for even bringing up their names, was Jack Farlow and Braun, and they actually did pretty well. Braun was 61, so 5 reps off, and Jack Farlow was 59, and I think Farlow and John Young kind of said he's like 4 years from now maybe. Well, it might be a lot sooner than 4 years the way Jack has moved. He's progressed this year, and I think we're just seeing last year. Last year's Jack Farlow versus this year are going to be two different Jack Farlows.
This is a scary thing for the women's field to see.
We
I
talked
mean,
about that. Oh man, I think we could talk about it now, so we don't have to talk about it on Thursday. But
no, I just kind
I'm
of want
just
to give some love to these top performances. I mean,
God.
when
They're
you
just
have,
amazing.
and so really what I see here is, one of the athletes who has the best chance to potentially beat her is Emma Lawson, 6th in the
Mm-hmm.
world with a time of 8:21, but it's 56 seconds slower than Tia.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, it's for someone who already has this crazy level of dominance historically, who did what she did at the Rogue Invitational last year, who had this wrist problem during the Open that left a little bit of doubt in people's mind, to come back and have all top 5 finishes on 4 different workouts. And by the way, when you think about the wrist bearing a load, in workout
Mm-hmm.
1, you have in workout 2, you have 300 reps of pressing between the wall ball and the burpee. In the
Mm-hmm.
third workout, you have 60 handstand push-ups, 20 ring muscle ups that you have to press out of. And then in the final workout, it's nothing but clean and jerks, receiving and pressing with that wrist in that position. It seems like that's a non-factor, and it seems like she is the total opposite of a non-factor and is once again in the driver's seat here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
Kane, absolutely. That second place score doesn't look real. Completely agree.
Yeah. But we talked about this again offline about, you know, a lot of athletes said, you know, like 2, 3, and 4 is of a lot of grip. And that's what we're concerned about with Tia, was like how her grip would factor under fatigue. Doesn't look like an issue at all. And I'm just marveled by her every time. And I what did I say? We need to stop discounting her, what she's capable of doing. And I don't think we do it on purpose. I think it's just like, I just can't explain it. She's just
Sometimes
amazing.
in sports, athletes just reach this level where people take it for granted because
Yeah, and I think that's where we're
they're
at.
so good. Yes, some of the NBA finals in the mid 90s were close games and close series, but no one ever thought that
The
Michael
Bulls
Jordan
weren't
was
going
going
to
to
win.
lose once
Yeah,
he made it to the
sure.
finals, because he never did. And
Yeah.
I've said this to my brother for the past decade in football games. I'm like, hey, I don't care what their records are. I don't care who's on their team. If it's an NFL playoff game and Tom Brady is the quarterback of one team, I'm not picking against him. Yeah, he might lose some, but it's
Mhm.
so infrequent. And Patrick Mahomes has entered that level now.
Yes.
That's what Tia Claire Toomey is.
Yeah.
She's so good and has been so good for so long that if she shows up to a competition, you know, we're just like, yeah, she's probably going to win it. It's almost not fair to say, but that's what she's created for herself by being so good.
I think that comparison to Mahomes is a perfect example because, you know, he won a Super Bowl on one leg, you know, when he had that ankle, you know, and people are questioning, like, oh, he's got, you know, he can't do it. And what did he do? I mean, he didn't even play a playoff game. He had, who was a third string quarterback ended up winning. I remember who it was. But either way, you know, I think that's a great comparison in terms of just the level that she's at and when it comes to the sport.
Final workout of the new ones that was submitted. Here's the women's workout 4, and helping makes a comment here. Olivia Kerstetter beating Danny Spiegel via a tiebreak time of 6 seconds on workout 4, 42 cleans at 165. I mean, 42 cleans at 165. You're expecting that they're going to have maybe 5-6 minutes at most to do that. It probably lists their tiebreak time there, doesn't it?
Can you click on Olivia? Where did she do that workout at? Does it say who her judge was?
Also proven.
So
Tiebreak
she did that proven.
336.
Yeah, she did that proven. So,
336. There is 2 minutes of forced rest during that 336, which means that she did the first 30 reps in a minute 36 at 3 progressive weights.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. So people can wrap their minds around that.
Cool.
And this is like, now you're talking about she's a girl. She's 18 years old. We know what she can do, but she won against Danny Spiegel, who is notorious for just smashing barbell workouts, and Amanda Barnhart, who's racked up wins of her own, and Kelsey Keel, who someone made a nice comment here. T. Kane, Kelsey Keel killed it. Looks like working with Coach L is paying off. Kelsey Keel, if we go all the way back to Zalos games 2 falls ago, I believe, when we did the broadcast there, Kelsey was there. She didn't compete, and she was already recommitting to her fitness in a different way. And I think that while yes, the choice to join up with Coach L is probably advantageous, just given his overall level of experience, I think that Kelsey really deserves the credit here more than anyone for making a decision to kind of say, like, I know how good I am right now, but there's a specific thing that's holding me back, and it's time to address it. And now we're 18 months later on, and I mean, look at the scores there. 4th on the last workout, understandable. She's been training differently so that she could get that time of 18:45 on workout 2, and she's still able to yield a top 5 score on the barbell workout. This is Spencer Hendel circa 2015. Making a choice. I don't want to finish 10th again. I want to do better than that. And maybe I'll do worse, but I have to try something different. And so he does. He doesn't lift the whole year. He takes his worst finish at the games on the lifting event, but he takes his best overall finish at the games, finishing 5th. And kind of having that pay off for him. And that's what I think we're seeing here from Kelsey, is that time of 336 and 18:45. I would speculate that if we asked her, that's the score of these 4 that she's most proud of.
Probably. I'm not surprised from these workouts, from the Open, the quarterfinals. What I'm fearful for her, and hopefully I'm pretty sure she's been working on it, is her handstand walking, because notoriously she struggled at that. She's had a couple moments at the games where one was on the pegboard where she couldn't get up and down the pegboard, and then last year she couldn't make the trip back on the handstand walk on the team on that final workout. I believe it was the final workout. So yeah, let's talk. Okay, so we brought up Tia, another person, Amanda Barnhart and Brooke Wells, who both did the workouts together up at Proven. But there were also two athletes that kind of had question marks coming into the quarterfinals, and I was really impressed by their scores. They look like they're, if not 100% healthy, they're good enough, and they should be completely healthy by semifinals, just based off the workouts we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, this has been kind of a ongoing case for several athletes, particularly on the women's side this year, of this uncertainty about how their health is, whatever version of that health that looks like. And in these cases, they had similar experience. Here we see Brooke Wells sitting in 10th place in the North America East leaderboard with some pretty solid performances. The worst being on the muscle up workout, which would absolutely make sense given what she's fighting back from. And Barnhart, very similarly, 2 wins, which is pretty impressive amongst only 4 tests. 40th on that capacity test, and again 88th. But she got through it. She finished all the work. Which they probably needed to do, even as high up as they are. The number of athletes that will have finished in the 13, 14 minutes probably would have bumped them out if they were unable to do that. And quite frankly, I know there's no minimum work requirements to advance to semifinals, but if this would be a situation where if there was an athlete who managed to make it through to the semis without finishing that workout, that I don't think that would be really a great thing. And, just even from the standpoint of, Dave alluded to this a little bit when he was talking about strength this past week, again, on his weekend review, and why they didn't have a 1-rep max or heavy complex. But he's basically saying we're testing strength in the way that we need to now so that we can trust it in the way that you want us to later on. And that would parallel with the gymnastics as well.
Yeah. So nice.
Anyway, as Patrick said, the leaderboard is going to continue to change over the next several days and potentially up to a week. If you are an athlete or know an athlete who has an issue with whatever, just email support at CrossFit. Let them go through their processes. That's what they're in place for. There's no need to be up in arms about these things. They know that the leaderboard's down for the age groups. They'll try to get it up, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter until Monday or whenever they finalize it. And we're going to do a more comprehensive leaderboard look a little bit later in the week when things are more settled, because there's still some notable names that are on the outside and some notable names that have done some cool things in a variety of different divisions that we don't want to maybe talk about just yet. Let all those kind of processes happen on CrossFit's end. T-Bird just joining. Thanks. Great to see you. Do you know what's going on with Devin Kim? I thought she was sitting out because of injury. Patrick, do you want to add anything there? She's on the leaderboard in North America West.
Extremely happy and proud of her. A lot of people thought that, and then she put out a post like, "Hey, I'm going to be ready in 2 weeks." Hopefully, we can get her on and maybe ask her these questions ourselves. Hopefully, in the next couple weeks. But this is someone like me and you. We've known this potential about Devin Kim. Doesn't have a lot of experience competing as an individual. We got to see what she did at Dubai, and I mean, I will say she's not at 100%, but yet she's going out there. I think she's one of those athletes who, she's a gamer. I keep on telling her, I'm like, there's no big, it's just game day Dev is what I call her. You get her on that competition floor, she's probably one of the few people. She's going to perform no matter what. She's going to throw her body out there. She's everything for the, before it was everything for the team. Now she's doing everything for herself. So I would not discount her at all at the West Coast, at West Coast this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up to the game. It might be a year earlier than expected, because I definitely think looking at next year, she would definitely be one of those top athletes, but she's just coming along a little bit further. In terms of the team, I don't know. Maybe that's something we can talk to her or even talk to Chandler about. I mean, we're hoping to have Chandler on hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well. And if he wants to talk about it, that's great. If not, whatever. But yeah, Dev, I'm not surprised by that at all. Who are you looking at there?
Hattie Canio, just another
Hattie, yeah.
example of an athlete. I've had some interactions with Hattie over this weekend in general with regards to one of the workouts in the first submission window. She had a question about she was doing exactly what I talked about earlier. She was basically asking me, "Hey, I did this workout. We watched the video back. I did this thing. We're not sure if that's going to be a problem or not." And I pursued just trying to find out some information based on some people I know and whatever. And I said, "You're probably fine, but you are taking a risk." And that's all I left it at. I'm not going to tell her what to do. Let her and her coach decide that stuff. She decided to redo the workout and post something that in her mind was no doubt. And that's what the time that CrossFit has allowed for the athletes allows them the chance to do that if they want to. And this is a good practice that athletes can do. So Hattie Cano, well done. She'll be in the mix out there, but we'll dive more into that leaderboard in a bit. But there was one comment there. We talked about Andrea earlier. And she ends up finishing 27th. I mean, this is like, I absolutely want to know what's going on over there and how she's able to pull this off. This is just a crazy performance. We spoke about it on Sunday, not one we would recommend other people doing, but out of this type of stuff.
2 years ago, I had the pleasure. She competed at Dubai as an individual, and I asked her. I was like, "What? Why Dubai? Why did you decide to do this individual competition?" She goes, "I do one individual competition a year, live individual competition." So she's still on that track. Last year, I mean, she did that with Zelos Games 2 years ago. What did she do? She did something individual last year, and then this year it looks like semifinals. So I mean, just like she's just sticking with that mantra that she has. So,
Tiber speculates about Devin. Yeah, maybe being on the team is risky for other people. And she's still an alternate on that team, but if she competes on her own, then the only person season who she would be jeopardizing is herself. And so, we don't know that to be the case, but great speculation.
Yeah, good.
All right, Patrick, what else you got?
Okay, we never got to talk about this. Patrick Vellner, HWPO.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that anything's changing for him.
Sure. Michelle will still be his coach.
Yeah, he's had a storied career with her as his coach. There have been, people asking questions. Has he plateaued? Is he never going to win with her? Is she holding him back from his top potential? All these other things. And it's okay. Like that's part of the reason that pundits exist in sports, to ask questions like that and speculate and throw these things out there. But from talking to him over the years, he doesn't give any credence to that. He loves having her as his coach. He would probably tell you he's a difficult athlete to coach, and she knows how to work with him. And he's 34 years old this year. Yeah. I don't think that this is the time for him to seek something else. And the fact that his coach has a great opportunity to progress her career, to merge a business that she's built and grown over a long period of time in Canada with a worldwide organization like HWPO, who recognizes her talents, is such an awesome opportunity for her that it would be extremely selfish for Patrick to, do anything other than say, like, that's amazing for you. And if you want to still work with me, let's keep this thing going.
Yeah. I think also it's convenient. Obviously, he's making that move back east in Canada, and he's only going to be a couple hours away from both her and HWPO camp. And he mentioned on Stevon's podcast that he planned on going down to HW. This is before he made that announcement, but he's planning on going down there because him and Matt do have a very good friendship, and he knows O'Keefe. O'Keefe at one point was his manager. I mean, technically probably still is. I mean, it still falls under lab management. So I think it's a great move.
It's not a crazy change for him. No, I think this is very natural. I think that the move to the East is going to be nice for his life. I mean, man, I always feel terrible when I see the posts following competitions of planes, trains, and automobiles, boats, whatever that he has to take to get home. And he's going to, there's people that think that he still has a chance to win the games. I think Nico proclaimed that as little as 3 weeks ago on the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, who knows? Maybe he's, like you said, he's got a great relationship with Fraser. Fraser has proven to be able to, he's the type of athlete that working with Fraser actually could make a difference, in a weekend type setting. Matt, I think, has the ability to take people who are already towards the top of the sport and refine a few things. I mean, we remember when
We talked
Justin
about it.
Medeiros went out there, spent a
Mhm.
week with him, and then goes on to win the games.
Yeah.
And we studied how excellent Medeiros' pacing and strategy was during that 2-year run that he had.
Mhm.
And I would not be surprised if there were several lessons that Matt kind of embedded into his mindset during that time that maybe he can do with Pat. As good of friends as they
Mhm.
are, I'm sure some stuff that he kept from Vellner when they were
Oh,
competing
yeah.
because he was his closest rival. Like,
Yeah.
he'll shoot the shit with him and joke around, but he's not going to give away the
Mhm.
company secrets. But now
Yeah.
they're in the same company.
Yeah, exactly. It's an investment in many ways. We kind of talked about very briefly, speaking of HWPO, as Katrin. And then right after she made that announcement, Bailey made an announcement on her YouTube channel. Spin actually wrote a really good piece on her, both of Katrin and Bailey. So that gives us 14 athletes in the women's 2023 field that aren't competing this year for various reasons. But it seems like a lot of them are just it seems like a lot of them that are taking off not due to injuries because they're just taking a break, and all of them seem to be indicating that they're taking just the year off. Your thoughts on Katrin and then maybe Bailey and then maybe that the
Yeah.
14? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually just looking through Instagram earlier today, and I saw Ella Wilkinson, this young woman
Hmm.
from the UK, and she
Yeah.
made a post just thankful for her team for the work that they did this past weekend, and she acknowledged the fact that she chose to take last year off to finish some school and to work on getting stronger. Um, it's like, to me, it falls in a very similar category as that, which is sometimes in your athletic career, you just have to be super honest with yourself and be willing to say, hey, I think that I could do this year, maybe, but I'm probably setting myself up for more success in the future if I don't. And in, Katrin and Bailey and Ella Wilkinson, it might be three different kind of scenarios just because of their age and where they are in their careers and the levels of success that they've had. But we could extrapolate it all the way down to someone as young as Emma Carey, who made the same decision with a back injury when she was still a teenager. And she's made a decision this year for a different reason. I don't know. I think that if you're going to compete in this sport, you have to be committed to this sport. And if there's something in your life that's kind of preventing you from being, fully in on and all of the things that requires at this stage of the growth of the sport to be competitive, yeah, that's a reasonable decision. I think in the case of Katrin, it makes perfect sense. And in the case of Bailey Rail, I mean, she seemed very calm in that conversation she had with Roe, and to me, there's nothing wrong with that. They're making decisions that are best for them, and I think that that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, and for Bailey, it's always been something bigger than CrossFit. She's obviously a person I've known for a while, and her faith, her spirituality is really huge to her, and I think she's always been a type of person to help people, and I think she finally recognized that she has the platform to do it. She has the support from Mayhem, her husband Tyler, and this is great. I mean, she's going on that 30-day, I mean, not 30 gym and 30-day tour that she's currently on, which I think is great. Where it's just not like one of these tours where they're going on just working out. She's like trying to learn about the community and just learning about people. And I think if you know anything about Bailey, if you've ever met Bailey, that's the type of person she is. And I'm happy for her. I really am. Just another journey.
Yeah, giving back a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask is something you're involved with at Wadapalooza, the Lat Am Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So returning, it looks like it's growing. Some more qualifiers, expanding the field. Is this something? I mean, obviously it's a positive thing, but where do you see this expanding to or growing into?
I mean, I think that last year, for this competition in Wadapalooza, it was maybe not like it wasn't as refined as it will be this year. Spin putting a little article out here. The LatAm Cup is returning for 2025 Tier Wadapalooza, presented by Sky Hill. Great grips, by the way. This
Yeah.
year's LatAm Cup will be bigger, with 18 men and 18 women to be invited from 10 competitions throughout Central and South America. And yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, some of those competitions are going to start to get some more recognition because of their involvement with Wadapalooza. I think Wadapalooza actually put something out about this too.
For those that don't know, Brian was actually on the broadcast for a couple of those. You and Lauren. Lauren did a great job uh, announcing and doing the play-by-play in color, especially the play-by-play on the LATAM Cup. So
Here we see this is the
yeah.
on Wadapalooza's Instagram. You can see the competition. So, Fitland Black Challenge, Greatest Fit Fest.
Argentina Throwdown, I've heard of.
Oh, I think Wadfest, Argentina, and Fit Games were all involved last year, and then the other ones they're adding. You see the dates there. So starting in July and running through November, and then 3 that are still unannounced. But I think what's really going to happen is that the athletes at those competitions will understand that in addition to competing there, they're actually competing for something that's pretty cool. I know that last year there were some of those competitions where a few of the winners of the competition declined their invite, and so they went down the leaderboard to try to get a representative there. I think we're more likely to get more representatives from the top of those leaderboards. And with companies like Barbell Spin and us and out there, you're going to be more aware of it as these competitions are happening. Hopefully, Wadapalooza is making a post. Congrats to the winners from Wadstock Chile in July. We'll be receiving an invite, and maybe Spin has an article that's constantly updating, that's keeping us informed of who's winning those competitions and who's getting those invites out there. I just think that there's I'm glad they're bringing it back, because I think there's a high likelihood for a big step forward in year 2 is probably the simplest way to say it.
I love how they've hit up, like they're doing each of these. They've identified competitions all in different locations in Latin America. It's not like 3 in Brazil or 2 in Argentina. I mean, it's pretty well spread out. So you are going to get representation from all of these and possibly grow. I mean, I don't know who the fittest in Ecuador is, but it might be maybe someone from Ecuador wins it. Maybe it's someone from one of these other nearby countries that wins it. But it's cool. It kind of grows it. It's going to bring eyes on. And I think with Loud and Live's connection to Latin America, especially when it comes to their concert series and festivals, that they're going to be throwing a lot of effort into this. If anyone can figure out how to get the Latin American countries more involved, it's someone like Loud and Live and under the leadership of someone like Dylan.
TK, and are all semifinals going to have the same workouts? Yes, I think that is the plan.
There will be some, maybe, just like you can't replicate every single portion of it. Obviously, West Coast Classic, it's going to be outdoors. Last year we had, it seemed like the surface at Oceana was a little bit different.
Some nuanced changes based on maybe size of arena, indoor, outdoor, turf, the quality of the rubber they're using. But no, the workout should all be the same, just as last year, absent those really small things. And this might have been something that you were going to ask me about anyway.
Yep.
Laura Horvath last week,
cool.
She signed with Red Bull. I don't think that Red Bull has had a ton of presence in the CrossFit space outside of Yona Koski.
And I think Lucas Holberg, or I think it was Lucas Holberg.
Lucas Holberg for a small period of time. But she puts up a post here with the Red Bull hat on, and she says, got a set of wings for the season. This to me is very cool. Like I guess I didn't share the screen there, did I?
Don't worry, he's getting it. There he goes. Boom.
Yeah. This is really cool. I mean, because we wouldn't think Red Bull's not a CrossFit company, not even necessarily a fitness company. They're like a sporting company and kind of fringe sports type of company and an energy drink. And for them to be involved with an athlete like this and take some interest in it, I think that is really cool, because it brings potentially in just a different audience. You can assume that they'll be promoting her to some extent in their media and their the
Red Bull channel,
right? And therefore, maybe some other people get some eyes on this. I think that the timing is really good, obviously, with her being at the top of the sport right now, regardless of what circumstances that are under. It's given her an opportunity to express herself, some of the maturity that she's gone through in the past few years as she's, become, more of a solidified, not just athlete, but adult in general. And I think that she's, a great representative for the sport right now. And she doesn't speak very often, but when she does, the past couple of times, it's been, I think, rather profound and positive. And I mean, Red Bull's taken note of this. And I think it's a good lesson there for a lot of athletes, is like, you never know who's watching. So put your best forward.
And the thing about Laura that a lot of people don't know is that she doesn't change who she is. And I think that's why Red Bull is such a good, yeah, they do have an F1 team. They're really, a lot of the X sports, they're really big in, some of the E sports. But one thing they have been is all the athletes that they sign, they're not asking them to do anything that, you'll see some athletes just trying really hard or changing who they are to be a part of this brand. Red Bull doesn't do that. They're like, we're going to support you as an athlete. You just keep on being you, as long as it doesn't compromise our values, and just be you. And a good friend of mine, Ari, she works for Red Bull. She's part of that marketing team and partnership team. And I haven't had a chance to talk to her about that, but I'm hoping that she was a part of that with her background in CrossFit. But I think it's a great man. Oh, look who it is.
Josh Godin is one of the prestigious coaches of HWPO. We had him on last week for a really cool episode. If you guys missed it, you can check it out. But Barnhart doing more step-ups each minute with 35-pound dumbbells than he could do with ruck on his back in his modified version of it. Just giving, again, some love to, and not just his athletes, but an athlete we talked about already today who seems to be, once again, a relevant force out east. And
Josh is fit. And Josh is a fit guy.
Fit. But while there are a lot of women that are out of this season, that does not mean that there's an easy path to the games. There's still going to be a plethora of women, especially in the East and Europe, that are going to be, it's going to be really, really difficult to qualify. And when, if you're an athlete who's up and coming or looking for an opportunity and you see a healthy Amanda Barnhart in the field, that's more or less one less spot that's going to be available.
Yeah. But I think that's about it. I mean, obviously the quarterfinals is a big news, but there's some other things that I wanted to get your opinion on. And we didn't even talk about it too much. So it was kind of cool sharing. These are the type of conversations me and Brian typically have whenever we talk. So this is an opportunity to kind of you guys hearing what we would talk about. But I'm excited. I really am. I mean, quarterfinals, it's an exciting stage. I think it can only grow. I think what Savon did with the help of Born Primitive in terms of, what they did, the matchups, Taylor versus the world, what we're doing with Reps Ahead, there's so much potential out there, and a lot of people are maybe upset, like, how come CrossFit's not doing that? Well, let CrossFit run the CrossFit Games, and they want to be involved, they can be, but right now, I think there's a lot of people that want to see the sport grow, and they're doing everything they can. And I say this all the time: if you are a fan of CrossFit and consuming CrossFit media, there's no better time to be a fan in the sport is right now, because you can get it from so many different places. You're not getting it just from CrossFit. You're getting it from so many different sources, opinions, facts. There's so many experts and analysts out there. Of course, we hope you choose us first and foremost. But if not, by all means, just be a fan of the sport and just support media out there. Support us all, and we'll support you.
There was a comment a ways back here. I'm trying to find it. Draw your dagger. Some Masters athletes are going to steal some semifinal spots this year for sure. Sure enough,
teen athletes too.
Patience pays off. The leaderboards are updated to some extent on the game site. You guys can see there. This is the 35 to 35 9-year-old men, and they're populated again. They don't have the full slate of workouts in there, but this is a change from what they looked like when we started this show. And again, that's just giving credence to the fact that CrossFit is working on it, and they have good intentions here. They're trying to make that work for everyone.
Yeah, and I don't want to get it mixed, twisted. These media companies or these people are calling for, hey, we need the leaderboard, blah blah. Someone might take credit for it, like, oh, see what we did. I mean, it's going to happen. That maybe, I don't know. Maybe it caused it to go a little bit faster, but for what? Wow.
On the flip, I mean, look, people want to know what's going on. It goes back to this bigger picture thing. It's a sport, and people watch sports because they want to know how the sport unfolds, what the results are, who did well, who didn't do well, where were the surprises, good and bad. And you can't do that without the leaderboard. But I think that it's worth reiterating that CrossFit's not trying to withhold that from you guys. They didn't want that to happen. It's unfortunate that it happened. Maybe it's unfortunate that it's happened maybe some people think that it's happening more often than is acceptable from the organization who's running the sport. But you don't have to participate in the sport. You don't have to sign up for it if you don't want to. And I think that's what Andrew Hiller's been saying for years. Like, if you're not happy with the way they're running it, then don't pay to play. But if you do pay to play, then just have a little bit of patience and let them do their jobs. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, more often than not, everything works out just fine. And anyway.
Yeah. So
okay, well, Patrick, thanks for taking an impromptu opportunity to hop on with here.
No problem. For my beautiful
question. T. Kane, if a Masters athlete qualifies for both the games and age grouped games, can they compete in both?
Yes.
Like Sam Dancer. Before that, you'd have to ask the same question about the semifinals. There's actually a pretty detailed part of the rule book that explains this. And at the semifinal level, the age group semifinals happen the weekend or week before the semifinals start. So if you're an age group athlete who's qualified for age group semifinals and you do those that week, and you also want to earn a qualifying spot as either a member of a team or an individual to semifinals, you can do both. And if you qualify for both the games as a team or individual, but also, the age group, you can do both as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing you cannot do is team and individual for either semifinals or the games.
Yeah. I think you'll obviously see a couple. Well, I was busy training, so I didn't get much of the workouts in, but I do plan on hitting at least 3 of the 4 in the next few weeks. I had a meeting and found out that I have to be in pretty good shape wherever I may deploy to. So thank God for CrossFit. And actually, Josh, I'll probably be hitting up you and the HWPO staff to maybe possibly programming for me and my team. Well,
I don't know what happened there for Patrick, but that would be really cool if HWPO got involved with some of his Army training. HWPO has taken some initiative with the Army in general. Yesterday, I put this post up with my experience with quarterfinals. I didn't make it to quarterfinals, but I did do the workouts. I did the first 2 as prescribed, and then I modified the last 2. So if you want some of the details on that, you can listen to this. But I always like to do them, even if I don't make it. I've only made it I made it the first year in 2021. I haven't qualified in any year since. But I always like to do either the workouts or a version of the workouts just to kind of be able to relate to the athletes and have some form of educated opinion about the workouts. So thanks for asking, Josh. Jeff Birchfield, thanks for joining late, man. We're just about to wrap up, actually. And thanks to Patrick for taking the time last minute to fill in. Sorry we couldn't have Kyle on today. Hopefully we'll get him on in the future. But just a little show on a Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow. We have J.R. Howell coming on. He's going to do a little 30 minutes, give us 30 minutes of a very busy 2-week stretch for him in the run-up to Crash Crescendo. We'll be streaming the co-ed elite teams of 4 for that competition Friday, Saturday, Sunday from CrossFit Crash in Spartanburg, South Carolina. It'll be on our YouTube channel. And yay, JR. Yes, it's great to have him on. We haven't had him on in a really long time, so that'll be fun. And then Thursday, I think we're gonna get Bella, and we're gonna look a little bit deeper into the leaderboard after some things settle. Like I said earlier, there's some athletes that I'm really excited about, some divisions that I'm really excited about, and that'll be kind of our first opportunity to really set the stage for what semis is going to look like about a month from now. But PC's back. I'm just wrapping up.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys for joining on the last minute. Had some pretty good engagement there. Love the questions. Always great to see some of you in here that are here all the time. We really appreciate it. Thanks to HGR-CBD for the continued support.
They didn't show you how to do that.
Someone outside. It's just the doors open outside. It's a really nice day here. Audrey, of course, paying attention to every detail. Oh no, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I know how to do it.
There we go. Yay.
Red 20 for 20% off. I forgot that I was supposed to do it, but there it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Learn.
What's going to happen is now that Brian knows how to do all the backhand stuff, I'm going to slowly disappear. He's going to just push me out.
No, I don't. It's It's a lot. I mean, I know Savan talks about it when he has to do it, but to like be in multiple different
Mhm.
mindsets, and you guys can probably hear when I'm speaking, even that if I'm like kind of pausing in the middle of a sentence, it's because doing 2 or 3 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
Nope. Thank you, Esther, for being here. Thanks for the great questions. We'll be back tomorrow with JR. And as always, be friendly, our friends.
Oh, good job.